So, welcome back to part 4 of our week 1 topic, factoring polynomials. So, for part 4, we will focus on trinomials this time. So, una natin is the perfect square trinomial. So, ayan na naman si perfect square. So, you already have an idea kung paano ma-identify whether the given number is a perfect square or not. And then, trinomial, ibig sabihin, it involves a polynomial with how many terms? Okay, so there are 3 terms. So, pag tinawag na trinomials, it is a polynomial that has 3 terms. So, let's have this. Okay, so this is the format. Ito yung parang pattern na gagamitin natin to factor a given trinomial if and only if the given trinomial is a perfect square trinomial. Okay, so dapat magsasatisfy siya doon sa pattern. So, yung unang pattern natin, we have x squared plus 2xy plus y squared. You can factor it as the square of the sum of two numbers. Okay, so paano natin ngayon malalaman if the given trinomial is a perfect square trinomial? So una, look at the first term. Is it a perfect square number? Yes. Okay, and then next, look at the third term. Is it a perfect square number? Okay, that's correct. Now, kung perfect square number ang first term, which is a squared, so ano yung factor na minultiply sa sarili to get a squared? Alright, that is a. And then, kung si 16 is a perfect square number, so ano yung number na minultiply by itself to get 16? Tama, that is 4. Now, so paano natin malalaman ngayon kung ito ay perfect square trinomial? So, dapat umayon siya dito sa pattern natin that what you are going to do is to multiply the first number and the second number by 2. So, dapat mag-i-equal siya dito sa gitna. Okay? So, let's try. So, that will be 2 times A times 4. So, is that equal to 8A? Yes, absolutely. Okay, so that is equals to 8A because 2 times 4 will give you 8. So, therefore, this is equals to 8A. Okay, so, nag-satisfy siya doon sa gitna ng given trinomial. Nag-satisfy yung first term, nag-satisfy yung third term. So, ibig sabihin, this given is a perfect square trinomial. So, we can now use this pattern to factor this. So, the answer would be, so what will be the answer? So, that will be the square of yung first number natin, which is A. So, since these are all addition, so we use plus, and then yung second number natin is 4. So, that will be the square of A plus 4. So, that will be our final answer. So, ganun lang. Again, una, tignan mo muna yung first and third term if they are perfect square number. And then, tignan mo yung gitna kung masasatisfy siya when you multiply the two numbers by 2. Okay? So, let's try another example. So, for our next example, we have x squared. Okay, so that is a perfect square number. We can express it as x times x, di ba? So x is the number you multiplied by itself, kaya nakuha si x squared. And si 9y squared, yes, 9 is a perfect square number as well as y squared. So, sa 9, ano ba yung number when you multiply by itself to get 9? Correct, that is 3. and we have y squared, so that will be y. So that means when you multiply 3y by itself, you can get 9y squared. So now, tignan natin kung magsasatisfy dito sa gitna. Pag minultiply natin ito, pag minultiply natin yung unang number at yung pangalawang number sa 2. So, tingnan natin ha. So, this will be 2 times x times 3y. Dapat equal siya sa 6xy. So, 2 times 3, that is 6. Tapos xy, you just copy it. Okay, perfect. So, kapareho siya nung nasa gitna. Therefore, this is also a perfect square trinomial. So, pwede na natin ngayon siyang i-factor as the square of what? Okay, so since these are all addition, that will be the square of x plus 3y. So, that will be our final answer. Okay? So, di ba? Napakadali lang. Medyo siguro sa umpisa malilito ka, but if you keep on practicing and trying some examples, makakasanayan mo rin ito. Okay, so let's now have the second pattern. So similar lang naman siya dito sa nauna. Ang pinagkaiba lang nila, itong nasa gitna ay minus. Kanina plus, ito ay minus. So kung minus to, we can express it as the square of difference of two numbers. So yun lang, sa sign lang sila magkakaiba, but the procedure is the same. Okay, the procedures are the same, the steps are the same, magkakaiba lang sa sign. Okay? So, let's check ulit yung unang term. Is it a perfect square trinomial? Perfect square number, sorry. Yes. So, what is the number? You multiply by itself, you'll get what? M squared. Okay, so that is M. How about the last term? Yes. So, that will be 2n. 2n times 2n will give you 4n squared. So, let's see if it will satisfy the middle term when we multiply the first and the last term by 2. So that will be 2 times m times 2n. Palagay nyo, equal ba siya dito? So 2 times 2, we have 4mn, so just copy. Okay, so pareho. That means this is also a perfect square trinomial. Okay. So, kung perfect square trinomial siya, what would be our final answer? So, that will be the square of the first number, which is m, minus, since minus tong nasa gitna, 2n. Okay? So, that's it. So, that will be our final answer. Okay. So, and for our last example, so, we have d squared plus 2b plus 1. Same procedures. So, ano nga una mong gagawin? Okay, tingnan kung ito ay perfect square number. Is it a perfect square number? Yes. So, what is the number being multiplied by itself? You'll get b squared. Perfect. That is b. How about the last term? Obviously, 1 is a perfect square number. Okay, so tingnan natin if it will satisfy the middle term. So we have 2 times b times 1. So obviously, no? 2 times 1 is 2 times b, that will be 2b. So check, this is very check. This is a perfect square trinomial. So we can now factor it as the square of b minus 1. Okay? So, that will be our final answer. See? Diba? Hindi naman siya ganon kakomplikado. So, let's now have the factorable trinomials. So, in factorable trinomials, gagamit din tayo ng trial and error. So, trinomial siya, but it is not perfect square trinomial. not really perfect square trinomial. Pero syempre, meron din mga trinomials na perfect square trinomial. And we know that those are factorable. So, ito naman yung mga trinomials na hindi perfect square trinomial, pero you can still factor it into two binomials. So, ito muna tayo before we proceed to those examples. So, we have to think of two numbers whose sum is given and the product is also given. So, meron na akong dalawang example dyan. So, ano ba yung mga number that when you add, you'll get 4? So, and when you multiply, you'll get 3. So, the answer is 3 and 1. Kasi, di ba, 3 plus 1, that is 4. So, 3 plus 1 is 4. And 3 times 1, that is 3. So, therefore, the numbers are 3 and 1. Now, next, the sum is negative 6 and the product is 5. So, kung negative to, and this is positive, so isip tayo ngayon ng mga numbers na nasa negative at positive. Na kapag in-add natin, we'll get negative 6. And we know na makakakuha tayo ng sum na negative kapag ang ina-add natin ay dalawang negative or kapag ang dalawang numbers na ina-add natin, mas mataas yung negative, yung digit ng negative. So, yun yung mga possible options, no? So, sa product naman, kailan ba tayo makakakuha ng positive na product? Makakakuha tayo ng positive na product kapag nag-multiply ka ng parehong positive or nag-multiply ka ng parehong negative. Since ang sum natin is negative, syempre iisip na ako ng dalawang negative. Diba? Kasi kung dalawang positive ang imumultiply ko, hindi ako makakakuha ng sum ng negative. So, sa negative na ako nag-isip. And the answer is negative 5 and negative 1. Because negative 5 plus negative 1, remember, adding integers with the same sign, you add the number, then you copy the sign. So, 5 plus 1 is 6 and the sign is negative. And for the product, we just simply multiply the numbers. So, negative 5 times negative 1. So, negative times negative, that will be positive. And 5 times 1, that is 5. Okay, so that is the answer. How about the other given? Sige nga, pag-isipan. So, what are the numbers? The sum is 9 and the product is negative 10. Sum is 9 and the product is negative 10. Parang medyo mahirap yan, ha? Kailan ka ba makakakuha ng negative na product? Diba kapag nag-multiply ka ng isang positive at isang negative? So, ibig sabihin, yung numbers dapat na iisipin natin ay isang positive at isang negative. Now, the sum is positive. So, ang indication niyan, it's either you add two positive integers or nag-add ka ng numbers, ng integers, wherein the positive integer has a greater digit or the greater number than the negative one. Okay? So, that means, so it is possible that the numbers or the integers are positive 10 plus negative 1. Tama? Because positive 10, you add negative 1, that means you subtract 1 from positive 10 because 10 is higher than 1. And then copy the sign of the greater value, which is 10. So the answer is positive 9. And 10 times negative 1, you multiply integers with different sign, you'll get negative. Therefore, the answer is positive 10 and negative 1. So, ganun lang, mag-isip ka lang, laruin mo lang yung mga integers, no? So, kaya kailangan, natatandaan nyo on how you operate integers. Okay, next. The sum is negative 3 and the product is negative 28. So, negative na naman yung product. So, that indicates that the integers are isang positive at isang negative. So, ano kaya yun? Sige nga, ano ba mga factors ng 28? So pwedeng 2 times 14. Pero pag inad natin yun, hindi tayo makakakuha ng 3 kasi ang layo ng 2 sa 14, no? But pwede yung 7 sa 4, tama? Because 7 times 4 is 28. And when we get the difference between 7 and 4, that is 3. So, alam na natin ngayon na 7 and 4 yan. But, ang problem na lang is, sino dyan ang negative? Okay, correct. Ang negative dyan is si 7. Because negative 7 plus 4 or greater values is 7 than 4. So you will copy negative, the sign of the greater value. So you will have negative 3. And negative 7 times positive 4, that is negative 28. Okay? Next. Product is negative 15 and the sum is 2. What are the factors of 15? Perfect! That is 5 and 3 because the difference between 5 and 3 is 2. But the problem is the product should be negative. So which of the two integers is negative? Okay, correct. That is negative 3. So therefore, you'll get 2 by adding 5 and negative 3. And then you'll get negative 15 by multiplying positive 5 and negative 3. And for the last one, the product is 6 and the sum is negative 5. Ano kaya yun? Sum is negative 5. It's either you add two negative integers or magkaibang sign but higher si negative. But if your product is positive, that means you are multiplying two integers with the same sign. So it's either positive positive or negative negative. But since the sum is negative, so isip tayo na negative negative pareho yun. So ano ba mga factors ni 6? Yes, that is 2 and 3. Diba? Kasi when you add 2 and 3, that is 5. But since this is negative, gagawin natin negative si 2 at si negative 3. Because negative 2 times negative 3, that is positive 6. And negative 2 plus negative 3, that is negative 5. Okay? So, ganun lang. Kailangan niyo yung skill na to on how you identify the numbers given the sum and the product para makapag-factor tayo ng factorable trinomials. So, let's move on to that na. So, here is an example. So, a squared plus 10a plus 21 equals. So, these are the factors. A plus 7 times a plus 3. So, paano ko nakuha to? That is by trial and error, no? Using the skills on how you identify the integers being multiplied or being added. And then you get those values. So, paano mo yun malalaman? So, what you're going to do is to think of a number that when you multiply, you'll get the third term. So, that is when the product should be 21. And when you add, the sum should be the numerical coefficient of the second term, which is 10. So, the two numbers that the product is 21 and the sum is 10, those are 7 and 3. So, 7 times 3, that is 21. 7 plus 3, that is 10. So, now, paano ngayon, bakit naging a plus 7 at a plus 3? So, since they are both positive, so that means you are multiplying same sign integers. So, it's either positive, positive, or negative, negative. But since ang sum natin is positive, that means you are multiplying both positive. Kaya naging plus. Now, saan naman ang galing si A? So, si A, you think of the two numbers. So, it must be a perfect square number. So, dapat ito ay perfect square number. And obviously, it is. Kasi squared siya, no? So, it must be a perfect square number. And you think of the number that when you multiply by itself, you'll get this value. And that is A. So, that will be the factor. So, therefore, the factor of any factorable trinomials, okay, so the factor of the factorable trinomials in this form would be two binomials. So, ayan yun. Okay, so the answer is A plus 7 times A plus 3. Okay, so let's now move on to the given example. So try nga, x squared plus 7x plus 12. Is x squared a perfect square number? Okay, so check tayo dito. Check. Now, think of the number that when you get the product, that is equals to 12. And when you get the sum, that is equals to 7. So that will be 4 times 3 and 4 plus 3. Tama? 4 times 3, positive, positive, positive 12. 4 plus 3, positive, positive, so positive 7. So what now will be the factors of this given trinomial? So gawa na tayo ng parenthesis for the two binomials. Yung first term ng ating factor, manggagaling dito. What is the number when you multiply by itself, you'll get x squared. So that is x. So ito ngayon yung una nating factor. And then since the numbers are both positive, gagamit tayo ng parehong plus. And what are the numbers? 4 and 3. Okay, so that's it. That's the final answer, or the factor of x squared plus 7x plus 12. And for the last one, last example, so is this the perfect square number? Yes. So galing siya kay m. M times m, m squared. Now, what is the number being multiplied? You'll get 24, and when you add, you'll get 11. Okay, perfect. That is 8 times 3. Okay, let me erase. Okay, so that will be 8 times 3 and 8 plus 3. Okay, so what now are the factors? So let's draw another two parentheses. So sa una, we'll have m. Since these are both positive, we have plus 8 and plus 3. Okay, so that will be the factor of the given trinomial. Okay? So let's now have another examples. So we have m squared minus 4m minus 12. So may negative na tayo. So m squared, perfect square trinomial? Check. Perfect square number. So check. So galing siya kay m. M times m is m squared. So what are the numbers? When you multiply, you'll get negative 12. And when you add, you'll get negative 4. Isip-isip. Okay, so that is negative 6 times 2 and negative 6 plus 2. Because negative 6 plus 2, that is negative 4. Negative 6 times 2, that is negative 12. Therefore, the factors would be m minus 6, kasi negative yung isa, and m plus 2. That's it. Next. Next example. X squared. Kanino galing? Okay, x. So numbers, to multiply, you'll get 8. And when you add, you'll get positive 6. Okay, very good. So 4 times 2. Okay, so you'll have 4 times 2 and 4 plus 2. Okay, so that's correct. Therefore, the factors would be, so plus 2 kasi pareho silang positive, plus 4 and x plus 2. And for the last example, so p squared, yes. So galing siya kay p. What are the numbers? When you multiply, you'll get 12. And when you add, you'll get negative 7. Negative. But the product is positive. So that means dalawang negative number. Okay, so that is negative 4 times negative 3. And this will be negative 4 plus negative 3. So dalawang negative yan. Therefore, The factors are p minus 4 times p minus 3. Minus kasi negative yung numbers. Okay? So, kaya yan. Kaya niyong gawin yan. Okay. So, practice more. You have to answer your learning tasks 2, 3, 4, and 5 sa module nyo. So, good luck everyone. Pwede kayong magtanong. Libreng-libre ang magtanong. Okay? So, good luck everyone. I know kayang-kaya nyo yan. So, simulan nyo na. Practice, practice. Para magamay nyo on how you factor polynomials of any forms. Okay? So, that's it. That's the end of our topic for week 1 about factoring polynomials.